Next, we've been talking about browser extensions for the past 25 years. I remember being in Oslo for a web component meeting, and back then it was all about Adobe Flash and the Adobe SVG plugin for those who are old enough to remember those. But guess what? We had a community groups who have been making a lot of progress for some time, and Simeon, Vincent, one of the co-chairs of the community group, agreed to also talk briefly about this CG, who would like to become a working group.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. I am a senior developer relations engineer at Mozilla, and as was just mentioned, a co-chair of the WebExtensions Community Group. The community group, for those that aren't familiar, web extensions are a cross-browser extension development model that was originally created by Chromium and later adopted by basically everybody else. It is notable in the divergence from that 25-year history that was just mentioned, in that it takes a fundamentally different approach to extending the browser. Rather than use native APIs, as we historically did, web extensions are built on top of the web itself. They extend the web with additional capabilities and use the web platform as the fundamental primitive for how we extend and enhance the browser. I think that is from my perspective, that's one of the major benefits to this approach, is that we don't have to reinvent the wheel to come up with all the different tools and technologies that we need to build a useful and successful browser extension platform. So in the intervening years, this has been adopted by everybody, namely Chromium, Gecko, and WebKit, and the community group was created in 2021 in order to, well, primarily to facilitate conversations across browsers about the common model that everybody was aligning on. It was a little bit of a weird moment in time because Chrome had announced Manifest v3, and that were some significant breaking changes, but I think we are all aligned on the direction that we want to go and the approach that we want to take. And that has been largely facilitated by this group, the community group. So high-level overview of kind of what we are currently thinking about in terms of creating a community group. By and large, this feels like a natural progression from the process that we've been taking so far, that we've been relatively slow in progress on a specification, but the main reason that we kind of gathered together in the first place was to be able to talk to each other and to better align our implementations and close the gaps and address developer concerns. And that's largely what the community group has focused on so far. In closing the gaps, like the regular flow of our meetings, we have biweekly meetings on Thursdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, our meetings are largely focused on developer community feedback and the concerns that they have. And we're trying to address those and get more formal as we're iterating on our process. So one of the kind of notable things that's different about web extensions than other groups is we don't just we have a little bit of a different approach to cross-browser compatibility, that we explicitly want there to be an allowance for divergence from other browsers. I'm remembering now that I get into that in the next slide. So our tentative plan is to have both a community group and a working group. The community group will continue to focus on developer concerns and gathering feedback and iterating with the community on how extensions work. And the working group would primarily focus on the details of actually creating the specification, integrating web platform tests, and proving out, like, basically the boring stuff. And one of the core things that I'm expecting in moving towards a community group is having more focus from all participating members on progressing the deliverables. So we have some potential risks in here as well. The amount of time that each browser vendor has to focus on each of the browser's engineering teams have to focus on uh, cross-platform compatibility stuff is, I think, less than we would all like. But as I mentioned, that's one of my hopes is in having a working group, having formal commitments will progress that. The role of browser autonomy, especially within W3C process and requirements, is kind of an open question from my point of view. And one of the main things that we've been focusing on is fluidity of process, that since we are so limited on time, that we want to make sure that what we're doing is useful and successful for our groups. So one of the questions that we have as participating vendors is how much additional friction is going to come as a result of this additional formality of potentially having a group. So as I mentioned, we have our community group sessions every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific. If you're interested in learning more about the group and participating, joining in these discussions, you can, all of our discussions are on our GitHub issues. You can also use WebExtensions.group as a easier to remember short URL. And finally, we have our Matrix channel where you can hop in, ask questions, and talk about extension development. Thank you.